The trading post at Fort Bowie smelled of leather, tobacco, and desperation. Ayasha stood before the weathered counter, her fingers trembling as she unwrapped the turquoise necklace, her grandmother's final gift, and laid it beside a half-empty jar of preserves. "Please," she whispered to the merchant, "just enough for bread, maybe some salt." The man barely glanced up. "Turquoise ain't worth much these days, girl. Too many Apaches flooding the market since the relocation." Before I continue with their story, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support truly means everything to us and motivates us to bring you more quality stories from the Wild West. I'm curious, where are you listening from today? Ayasha's throat tightened. 3 weeks since soldiers had burned her village. 3 weeks since she'd watched her family march toward the San Carlos reservation, while she'd hidden in the rocks, too afraid to follow, too ashamed to stay. The necklace was all she had left of who she'd been. "I'll take it." The voice came from behind her, deep, steady, carrying the kind of quiet authority that made people turn around. Ayasha spun to find a man filling the doorway, his broad shoulders blocking the harsh Arizona sunlight. He was tall, with sun-darkened skin and eyes the color of creek stones after rain. Dust covered his worn denim and leather vest, and a faded red bandana hung loose around his neck. "Excuse me?" the merchant sputtered. The stranger stepped forward, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. Said, "I'll take it. The necklace. What's your price?" "Hold on now, Cord." "Name your price, Samuel." The merchant's eyes darted between them. $10. "It's worth 40, and you know it." The man, Cord, pulled a worn leather wallet from his vest. "But I'll give you 15 if you throw in supplies. Flour, salt, dried meat, coffee. Enough for 2 weeks." Samuel's greed won over his prejudice. He scurried to gather the goods, while Cord turned to Ayasha. Up close, she could see the scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the lines around his eyes that spoke of too many years squinting into unforgiving sun. "You don't have to," she began. Wasn't asking permission. His tone wasn't unkind, just matter-of-fact. He pushed the necklace back toward her across the counter. "This stays with you. Story like that shouldn't be traded for flour." "But you paid." "I paid for supplies." His gray eyes held hers. "You hungry?" Pride warred with the hollow ache in her belly. Pride lost. She nodded once. "Can you cook?" Another nod. "Then we'll call it even. I've got a ranch 15 miles north. Been eating my own cooking for 6 months, and I'm about ready to shoot myself just to end the suffering." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "You need work, I need someone who won't poison me. Seems like a fair trade." "I don't need charity." "Good, I'm not offering it." He hoisted the supply sack over his shoulder. "I'm offering honest work for honest pay. Room in the bunkhouse, meals, and $30 a month. You can leave whenever you want. But right now, you look like you're about to fall over, and I could use the help." Ayasha studied him, searching for the trap. Men didn't make offers like this without wanting something. But his eyes held no leer, no hidden hunger. Just the same tired desperation she felt gnawing at her own bones. "Why? Why what? Why help me?" Cord was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working as if chewing on words too heavy to spit out. Finally, he said, "Because somebody helped me once when I needed it, and because you've got the look of someone who'd rather die than beg. I respect that." Outside, his horse, massive bay gelding, stood hitched to the rail. Cord tied the supply sack to the saddle, then turned back to her. "You ride?" "Bareback." My father's horses. This is Jake. He's gentle for his size. Cord swung up into the saddle with easy grace, then extended his hand down to her. Come on. Storm's coming, and I'd rather not get caught in it. Ayasha hesitated only a second before grasping his calloused hand. He pulled her up behind him as if she weighed nothing, and she had to grab his waist to keep from sliding off. Beneath the dust and sweat, he smelled like sage and leather and something else, something clean and safe that made her chest ache. They rode north into the gathering darkness, and Ayasha pressed her face against his back, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing, and wondered if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or found the first piece of hope in 3 terrible weeks. Cord Brennan's ranch sat in a valley between red rock formations that glowed like fire in the setting sun. The house was small but sturdy, adobe walls and a shake roof that had seen better days but still kept out the rain. A barn stood to the left, and beyond it, a corral with 3 horses. It wasn't much, but after weeks of sleeping in caves and scrubbing for roots, it looked like paradise. Bunkhouse is there, Cord pointed to a smaller structure. Stove works, roof doesn't leak. Wells between the house and barn. You'll find blankets inside. Ayasha slid down from Jake, her legs unsteady. When do you want me to start? Tomorrow soon enough. Get yourself settled tonight. He started to turn away, then paused. There's a bolt on the inside of the bunkhouse door. Use it. Not because of me, because this is your space and you should feel safe in it. The words hit her harder than they should have. When was the last time anyone had cared whether she felt safe? Thank you, she whispered. He tipped his hat. Name's Cord Brennan, but I expect you figured that out already. Ayasha. Pretty name. He led Jake toward the barn. Welcome to the Broken Creek Ranch, Ayasha. It ain't much, but it's honest ground. That night, Ayasha lay on the bunkhouse cot, the bolt thrown across the door, her grandmother's necklace clutched in her fist. Through the small window, she could see lamplight in Cord's house, his shadow moving across the curtains. Outside, coyotes sang to the rising moon, and for the first time in weeks, Ayasha closed her eyes without fear clawing at her throat. The next morning, Ayasha woke to the sound of an axe splitting wood. She dressed quickly in the spare clothes she'd scavenged, a too large cotton shirt and worn skirt, and stepped outside to find Cord already working, his shirt discarded in the early heat. His back was a road map of old scars, muscles shifting beneath bronze skin as he swung the axe with practiced efficiency. He looked up when she approached, no embarrassment at being caught half-dressed. Coffee's on the stove in the house. Help yourself. I'll make breakfast. Can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. She headed toward the house before he could argue. The kitchen was exactly what she'd expected. Clean but chaotic, with dishes stacked haphazardly and supplies scattered across the counter. Ayasha found flour, eggs from the chickens scratching outside, and some wild onions. Within 30 minutes, she had biscuits in the oven and eggs frying with the onions, coffee boiling on the stove. Cord appeared in the doorway, now wearing his shirt, his hair damp from washing at the well. His eyes widened at the spread on the table. When I said cook, I didn't mean sit, eat. Ayasha poured coffee into 2 tin cups. You look like you haven't had a decent meal in months. He didn't argue, just sank into the chair and ate like a man who'd forgotten what real food tasted like. Ayasha picked at her own plate, her stomach still not used to regular meals. But watching him eat settled something in her chest. This is the best thing I've tasted in. He shook his head. Hell, maybe ever. Where'd you learn to cook like this? my mother, and then the mission school. Before. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Cord's jaw tightened. The relocations. Yes, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want. I know. And somehow his not pressing made her want to tell him. My father was a scout for the army. He thought cooperation would keep us safe. It didn't. When they came for us, he tried to argue, tried to show them his service papers. They shot him anyway. Jesus! Cord set down his fork. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. Sorry doesn't change what happened to my mother and sister on that march. Sorry is just... She stopped, surprised by the anger flooding her voice. Sorry is worthless. You're right. He met her eyes, unflinching. Words are cheap, but for what it's worth, I won't pretend to understand what you've been through, and I won't insult you by trying. Ayasha studied him across the table, this white rancher who'd bought her supplies and asked nothing in return, who'd given her work instead of pity. Why did you really help me yesterday? Cord was quiet for a long moment. 6 years ago, I was running from something, ended up half dead in a canyon, thinking I'd just lay down and let the buzzards have me. A Chiricahua woman found me, took me back to her family, nursed me back to health even though they had every reason to leave me for dead. Her name was Necha. She saved my life. What happened to her? Soldiers came. Relocation orders. I tried to help, tried to use what little influence I had, but his hands curled into fists. They took her anyway. I got letters for a while from San Carlos. Then nothing. Don't know if she's alive or dead, and that not knowing eats at me every damn day. So I'm what? Penance, a way to ease your guilt? No. His voice was firm. You're a person who needed help and deserved better than what life's been giving you. Maybe I can't fix what happened to Nietzsche, but I can make damn sure I don't turn my back when someone else needs help. Ayasha wanted to be angry at him, wanted to reject his help as some kind of savior complex. But she saw the truth in his eyes, the grief, the regret, the stubborn determination to do better. She recognized it because she felt it too. All right, she said finally. Then I'll stay, for now. That's all I'm asking. The days fell into a rhythm. Ayasha cooked, cleaned, tended the garden Cord had started but neglected, and learned to manage the chickens and the few cattle that grazed on his land. Cord worked from dawn to dusk, mending fences, breaking a new horse, hauling water, doing the endless labor that kept a ranch alive. They spoke little during the day, but evenings they sat on the porch as the desert cooled, sharing coffee and the comfortable silence of two people who understood that words weren't always necessary. On the 5th day, Cord found her trying to draw water from the well and failing. Here, he moved behind her, his hands covering hers on the rope. It's not about strength. It's about leverage. Pull like this, see? Let gravity do the work. His chest pressed against her back, his breath warm against her ear. Ayasha's heart hammered so hard, she was sure he could feel it. When the bucket came up, she pulled away quickly, afraid of what that closeness made her feel. Thank you, she mumbled. Anytime. His voice was rougher than usual. I'm riding into town tomorrow. Need to pick up some things. You're welcome to come if you want, or you can stay here. Whatever makes you comfortable. I'll come. The words surprised her. I need to find work eventually. Real work. This is real work. You know what I mean. Cord's expression went carefully neutral. You planning on leaving already? I can't stay here forever, living on your charity. I told you, it's not... He stopped, rubbed his face. Look, you do what you need to do. But you should know that having you here, it's been good. The ranch runs better. I run better. So if you're looking for a reason to stay beyond charity, consider that you're actually helping me." Before she could respond, he walked away toward the barn, leaving Ayasha standing by the well with her heart doing strange, unfamiliar things in her chest. Town was worse than she'd expected. People stared at her as she walked beside Cord, their eyes hard and suspicious. A woman pulled her child close as they passed. A man spat tobacco juice onto the dirt near her feet. Cord's hand found the small of her back. Not possessive, just protective. "Ignore them. Easy for you to say. No, it's not." His voice was tight. "But they're not worth the energy it takes to hate them back." At the general store, the owner refused to serve her until Cord slammed a hand on the counter, hard enough to make the jars rattle. "You'll serve her the same as anyone else, or I'll take my business to Carson City, and I'll make sure everyone knows why." The man's face went red, but he bagged the supplies without another word. Outside, Ayasha let out a shaky breath. "You didn't have to do that." "Yeah, I did." Cord loaded the supplies into his saddlebags. "Nobody gets to treat you like that. Not in front of me." "I'm used to it." "Well, you shouldn't have to be." He turned to face her, his gray eyes fierce. "And for what it's worth, anyone who looks at you and doesn't see a strong, capable woman worth respecting is a damn fool." Ayasha's throat went tight. "Why do you care so much?" "Because." He stopped, seemed to wrestle with something. "Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being just someone I was helping, and that scares the hell out of me." Before she could ask what he meant, a voice called out across the street. "Well, well, Cord Brennan. Heard you were back in the territory." Ayasha turned to see a man approaching. Tall, well-dressed, with cold blue eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. Two men flanked him, both wearing guns low on their hips. Cord's entire body went tense. "Hollister. Been a while." The man's eyes slid to Ayasha, and she felt his gaze like a physical touch she wanted to scrub off. "Picked up a squaw, I see. Always did have peculiar tastes." "Walk away," Cord said quietly. "Or what? You'll shoot me in the back again?" Hollister's smile widened. "Oh, wait. That's your specialty, isn't it?" Ayasha felt Cord trembling beside her, not with fear, but with rage barely contained. His hand hovered near his gun. "Let's go," she said softly, touching his arm. "He's not worth it." For a long moment, Cord didn't move. Then slowly, deliberately, he turned his back on Hollister and guided Ayasha toward their horse. "That's right, Brennan. Run away with your little Apache whore, just like you ran 6 years ago." Cord stopped. Ayasha tightened her grip on his arm. "Don't." "She's right, boy," Hollister laughed. "You're not the killer you used to be. You're just a broken-down rancher playing house with—" Cord moved faster than Ayasha thought possible. 1 second, he was beside her. The next, he had Hollister slammed against the wall, forearm across his throat. "Say one more word about her," Cord said, his voice deadly calm, "and I'll finish what I started 6 years ago. Only this time, you'll stay dead." The men with Hollister reached for their guns, but the sheriff appeared from the saloon, hand on his own weapon. "That's enough. Cord, let him go. Hollister, get your men and get out of here before I lock you all up for disturbing the peace." Cord released Hollister slowly, never breaking eye contact. Then he turned and walked back to Ayasha, taking her hand, an openly intimate gesture that made every person on the street take notice. They rode home in silence. Ayasha wanted to ask about Hollister, about what had happened 6 years ago, but the rigid set of Cord's shoulders told her it wasn't the time. Back at the ranch, Cord dismounted and disappeared into the barn without a word. Ayasha unloaded the supplies, made dinner, and when he still hadn't emerged by dark, she carried a plate out to him. She found him in Jake's stall, sitting in the hay with his head in his hands. "You should eat," she said softly. "Not hungry." "Cord, you should leave." He didn't look up. "First thing tomorrow, take Jake. Take whatever supplies you need. Head north to Colorado. I've got contacts there who'll help you." Ayasha set the plate down and sat beside him in the hay. "What happened with that man? Doesn't matter. It matters to me." Cord was silent for so long, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then quietly, 6 years ago, I worked for Hollister. Thought he was a legitimate businessman. Turned out he was running guns to both sides, settlers and Apaches, playing them against each other so he could buy up land cheap after the fighting. You found out. I found out. And I found out he was supplying the rifles that killed a family I knew. Good people. People who'd helped me when I first came west. His voice cracked. I went to confront him. We fought. I shot him, left him for dead, and ran. But he didn't die. Obviously not. Cord's laugh was bitter. Spent 6 years building this ranch, trying to be someone different, someone better. And in 2 minutes, he brought it all back. The anger, the violence, the man I swore I'd stop being. Ayasha reached out, touching his scarred knuckles. You didn't kill him today. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. If you hadn't been there, but I was, and you chose to walk away. That's not the same man you were 6 years ago. You don't understand. When he talked about you like that, something in me just... He finally looked at her, and she saw the fear in his eyes. I'm dangerous, Ayasha. It wasn't planned, wasn't thought through. She just leaned forward and pressed her lips to his, stopping the words that were tearing him apart. For a second, he froze. Then his hands came up to cup her face, gentle despite their calluses, and he kissed her back like she was something precious and breakable. When they parted, both breathing hard, Cord pressed his forehead against hers. You shouldn't have done that, he whispered. Why not? Because now I won't be able to let you go. Then don't. Ayasha's hands fisted in his shirt. I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of being afraid. When I'm here with you, I'm not those things. So don't ask me to leave, not unless you really want me gone. Want you gone? Cord laughed, the sound rough and broken. Ayasha, I wake up every morning grateful you're still here. I go to sleep every night terrified you'll change your mind. You're the best thing that's happened to me in 6 years, and I've been too much of a coward to tell you. Tell me now. I'm falling in love with you. The words came out raw and honest. I know it's too soon. I know I have no right. But there it is. Ayasha's eyes burned. It's not too soon. And you have every right. Because I'm falling in love with you too. They kissed again, slower this time, tasting the truth of the words between them. When they finally pulled apart, Cord stood and offered his hand. Come on. You're not sleeping in the bunkhouse tonight. Cord, I'm not assuming anything. His eyes were serious. But I want you close, want to know you're safe. We can figure out the rest as we go. Ayasha took his hand and let him lead her to the house, to his room, to his bed where they lay fully clothed in each other's arms, learning the rhythm of each other's breathing, and fell asleep to the sound of their hearts beating in tandem. The next 3 weeks were the happiest of Ayasha's life. She and Cord fell into a deeper rhythm, working side by side during the day, sharing meals and stories in the evening. falling asleep in each other's arms at night. They didn't rush toward physical intimacy, both content to let trust build slowly, brick by careful brick. Cord taught her to ride properly, to shoot his rifle, to track animals through the desert. Ayasha taught him Apache words, how to cook traditional foods, how to read the sky for coming storms. They were building something together, not just a relationship, but a life. Then, on a clear morning in late summer, riders appeared on the horizon. 12 Apache warriors on horseback, dressed in traditional garb, their faces painted for ceremony. Ayasha's heart stopped when she recognized the man leading them. "No," she whispered. Cord immediately moved in front of her, his hand on his gun. "Who are they?" "The one in front is Nahilzai, a war chief. She swallowed hard. "He wanted to marry me, before the relocations. My father refused because Nahilzai was too old, too violent. But now your father's dead and he thinks you're unclaimed." Cord's voice was flat. "Stay behind me." The warriors stopped 20 feet from the house. Nahilzai dismounted, his eyes fixed on Ayasha with an intensity that made her skin crawl. "Ayasha, daughter of Cochillo," his voice carried across the yard. "I have come to claim you as my wife. I offer 12 horses, blankets worth a year's trade, and gold taken from white men's mines. Your father's debt to me will be settled. You will want for nothing." "My father owed you nothing," Ayasha called back, finding her voice, "and I am not property to be claimed. You are alone, unprotected. The white man's world will destroy you. Come with me. Be my wife. You will be honored among our people." "She already has protection," Cord said quietly, "and she's made her choice." Nahilzai's eyes slid to Cord, dismissive and cold. "You are nothing, white man. What can you offer her? This?" He gestured at the modest ranch. "She deserves better than to be a servant in your house." "She's not a servant. She's—" Cord stopped, looked at Ayasha. "What do you want? Tell me what you want, and I'll make it happen." Ayasha felt all eyes on her. 12 warriors, 1 war chief, and the man she loved. This was the moment. The choice that would define everything that came after. She stepped out from behind Cord and walked forward until she stood beside him. "Nahilzai, you offer gold, horses, and land," she said clearly. "These are generous gifts. Any woman would be honored. But I am not any woman, and I will not be bought like cattle. I choose to stay here. I choose him." A murmur ran through the warriors. Nahilzai's face darkened. "You choose poverty over prosperity? Dishonor over respect? You would live as this white man's whore rather than as my honored wife?" "I choose love," Ayasha said simply. "I choose a man who sees me as a person, not property. I choose freedom over gold. And I choose the life we're building together over anything you could offer me." "Then you are a fool." Nahilzai remounted his horse. "And you dishonor your father's memory. My father taught me that my life was my own to choose. I'm honoring him by choosing it." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Nahilzai raised his hand, and the warriors turned their horses. Before they rode away, the war chief looked back one last time. "You have made your choice, Ayasha. Live with it. But know this, 12 warriors offered you the world, and you chose a white man with nothing. If you ever regret this choice, do not come seeking us. You will not be welcomed." They rode away in a cloud of dust, leaving silence in their wake. Ayasha's legs suddenly felt weak. Cord caught her as she swayed, holding her upright. "You okay?" His voice was rough with emotion. She laughed shakily. She laughed. I just turned down what most women in my position would call salvation. Gold, horses, land, status among my people. Do you regret it? No. She turned in his arms, looking up at him. Gold can't hold me at night. Horses can't make me laugh. Land can't make me feel safe. But you do all of those things. So no, I don't regret it. I need you to know what I gave up, what I chose you over. Cord's hands framed her face, his gray eyes fierce. Ayasha, I don't have gold or land or anything valuable to offer you, but I swear to God, I will spend every day of my life making sure you never regret choosing me. I will protect you, provide for you, and love you until my last breath. And if that's not enough, it's enough. She kissed him hard. It's more than enough. It's everything. They stood there in the dust, holding each other, while the sun climbed higher and the desert stretched out around them, vast and wild and theirs. That night, as they lay in bed, Cord propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her in the lamplight. Marry me. Ayasha's breath caught. What? I know it's crazy. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. But after today, after watching you choose me over everything else, I don't want to wait. I don't want to spend another day with you not knowing that you're mine and I'm yours. Legally, officially, in every way that matters. Cord, I love you, Ayasha. I love your strength and your stubbornness and the way you sing Apache songs while you cook. I love how you stand up to me when I'm being an idiot and how you look at the sunrise like it's the first time you've ever seen one. I love every damn thing about you, and I want to spend the rest of my life loving you. So marry me, please. Ayasha felt tears spilling down her cheeks. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. He kissed her then, deep and slow and full of promise. And when he pulled back, his eyes were shining too. Tomorrow, he said, we'll ride into town tomorrow and find someone to marry us. I'm not waiting another day. What about Hollister, the town? Let them talk. Let them stare. You're about to be my wife, and I don't give a damn what anyone thinks about it. Ayasha laughed, feeling light and free and impossibly happy. Tomorrow, then. Tomorrow. They made love that night for the first time, slow and careful and full of tenderness. Cord touched her like she was made of spun gold, whispering words of love and promise against her skin. When he slid inside her, Ayasha gasped at the fullness, the rightness of it. Go slow, she whispered. It hurts a little. I'll die before I hurt you. He kissed her tears, moving with excruciating gentleness until her body adjusted, until pain turned to pleasure. Tell me what you need. Just don't stop. Don't ever stop. Never. He moved deeper, and she arched against him. I love you, Ayasha, so damn much. I love you too. She wrapped her legs around him, pulling him closer. Together, he echoed. And they moved as one, building towards something bright and perfect and entirely theirs. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweat cooling on their skin, hearts gradually slowing. No regrets? Cord asked softly. Not a single one. The next morning, they rode into town. The circuit preacher was leaving that afternoon, and Cord caught him just before he departed. I need you to marry us. Today. Right now. The preacher looked from Cord to Ayasha, his eyebrows rising. Son, marriage is a sacred institution. It requires. I know what it requires. I'm asking you to do it anyway. At least let me. No. Cord's voice was firm. No waiting, no questions. We want to be married now. And if you won't do it, I'll find someone who will. The preacher sighed, but something in Cord's face must have convinced him. "All right, but we'll need witnesses. We'll find them." They ended up in the church with the preacher, his wife as witness, and the town drunk who happened to be sleeping off a bender in the back pew. It wasn't grand or elegant, but when Cord slipped a simple gold band, bought that morning from the general store, onto Ayasha's finger and said, "I do," with his whole heart in his voice, it was perfect. "I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss your bride." Cord pulled Ayasha into his arms and kissed her like she was his last breath of air, and she kissed him back like he was her salvation. When they walked out of the church into the bright Arizona sun, Ayasha turned to him with tears in her eyes. "Mrs. Brennan," he said, testing the name, "how does it sound?" "Like home," she whispered. "It sounds like home." The weeks following their wedding settled into a peaceful rhythm that felt almost too good to be true. Ayasha woke each morning to find Cord watching her with that tender expression that made her heart skip, and she fell asleep each night secure in his arms, the nightmares that had plagued her for months finally fading. But peace in the Arizona territory was always temporary. It started with the cattle. 3 head went missing from the north pasture on a Tuesday morning. Cord found the fence cut clean through, tracks leading toward the mountains. "Rustlers," he said grimly, examining the tracks. "Professional ones, too. These aren't opportunists. They knew exactly what they were doing." "Should we report it to the sheriff?" Cord's laugh was bitter. "Sheriff Henderson? The man who barely looked at us during our wedding? He's not going to lift a finger to help an Indian woman and the man who married her." "Then what do we do?" "We watch. We wait. And if they come back, we're ready." He stood, dusting off his hands. "I'm gonna ride over to the Jenkins ranch, see if they've had similar problems. You stay close to the house. Keep the rifle loaded." Ayasha didn't like the hard edge that had crept into his voice, but she understood it. This ranch was everything they had, their livelihood, their future, their home. They couldn't afford to lose any more cattle. Cord returned at dusk with troubling news. 3 ranches hit in the past month, always small amounts, not enough to bankrupt anyone, but enough to hurt. And always ranches on the outskirts, places where the law doesn't pay much attention. Places like ours, he confirmed. "Tom Jenkins says there's been talk. Some folks think it's Apache raiders from the reservation. Others say it's white men trying to stir up trouble between settlers and natives. And what do you think?" Cord was quiet for a moment, staring out at the darkening desert. "I think someone's testing us, seeing how much they can take before we fight back." That night, Cord set up a watch schedule. They took turns sleeping, one always awake and armed. It was exhausting, but necessary. On the 3rd night of their vigil, Ayasha was on watch when she heard something that made her blood run cold. Horses. Multiple horses, moving slowly, trying to be quiet. She touched Cord's shoulder, and he was awake instantly, gun in hand. They moved to the window, and in the moonlight, Ayasha counted 5 riders approaching the barn. "Stay here," Cord whispered. Like hell. She grabbed the second rifle. "We do this together." He looked like he wanted to argue, but there wasn't time. They slipped out the back door, using the shadows to approach the barn from the side. The rustlers were already working, leading 2 of their horses toward the open gate. "That's far enough," Cord called out, his voice carrying across the yard. The rustlers froze. Then, slowly, they turned. In the moonlight, Ayasha recognized the man in front, and her stomach dropped. "Well, well," Hollister said, his smile visible even in the darkness. "Cord Brennan. I was wondering when you'd finally show your face. Let the horses go, Hollister. Ride away, and we'll forget this happened. Forget? Hollister laughed. You shot me and left me for dead 6 years ago, and you think I'm going to forget? I've been waiting for this, Brennan. Waiting for you to build something you care about, so I could take it apart, piece by piece. This isn't about me. Leave my wife out of it. Your wife? Hollister's gaze slid to Ayasha, and she felt the malice in it like a physical blow. The Apache whore? Oh, she's exactly what this is about. I'm going to destroy everything you love, Brennan. Starting with your cattle, then your land, and finally, he left the threat hanging. Cord's gun came up. You touch her, you're a dead man. Big talk from someone outnumbered 5-2. Hollister gestured, and his men spread out, hands on their weapons. Here's how this is going to work. You're going to lower that gun, and you're going to watch while we take your horses. Then you're going to sign over your land deed to me. And if you're very, very lucky, I might let you both walk away alive. Not happening. Then people are going to die tonight. Question is, do you want your pretty wife to be one of them? Ayasha felt Cord trembling beside her, felt the terrible choice weighing on him. She stepped forward, raising her rifle. He's not the only one with a gun, she said clearly. And unlike you, I have nothing to lose. You want this ranch? You'll have to kill us both. And I promise you, we'll take at least 2 of you with us. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Hollister's face. He'd expected fear, expected surrender. He hadn't expected resistance. You're bluffing. Try me. Ayasha's hands were steady on the rifle. I've lost everything once already. My family, my home, my people. This ranch is all I have left, and I will defend it with my last breath. So make your choice, Hollister. Walk away, or find out if I'm bluffing. The standoff stretched, seconds feeling like hours. Then, from behind them, a voice called out. She's not alone. Ayasha's heart leaped as Tom Jenkins stepped out of the shadows, rifle raised. Behind him came 3 more ranchers, all armed, all with weapons trained on Hollister and his men. Word travels fast in these parts, Jenkins said. We take care of our own. And like it or not, Hollister, the Brennans are one of us now. Hollister's face twisted with rage. This isn't over, Brennan. Yeah, it is. Cord's voice was cold. You come near my ranch again, near my wife again, and I won't just shoot you. I'll bury you so deep no one will ever find your body. That's not a threat. That's a promise. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Hollister spat in the dirt and jerked his head toward his men. Let's go. They rode off into the darkness, and Ayasha finally let herself breathe. Tom Jenkins lowered his rifle. You folks all right? Thanks to you, Cord said, shaking his hand. How did you know? Sarah saw them riding past our property. Figured they were headed here. Rounded up the boys and came as quick as we could. He looked at Ayasha. That was brave, what you did. Standing up to him like that. It was foolish, Ayasha said shakily. I could have gotten us all killed. No, Cord said, pulling her close. It was brave. And it probably saved our lives. After the other ranchers left, Cord and Ayasha sat on the porch steps, adrenaline slowly fading. He's not going to give up, Ayasha said quietly. I know. So what do we do? Cord was silent for a long moment. We fight. We build alliances. We make it clear that attacking us means attacking the whole community. And we pray it's enough. And if it's not? He turned to her, his eyes fierce in the lamplight. Then we go down fighting. Together. Together, she echoed, and sealed it with a kiss. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Ayasha was hanging laundry when she heard a horse approaching. Her hand went instinctively to a rifle leaning against the porch post, but she relaxed when she saw it was a woman, middle-aged, dressed in practical riding clothes, with kind eyes and sun-weathered skin. "Mrs. Brennan?" the woman called. "Yes? I'm Martha Jenkins, Tom's wife. I thought I'd come by, see how you're settling in." And she dismounted, pulling a basket from her saddle. "I brought some things. Preserves, fresh bread, some fabric I thought you might like." Ayasha stared at the basket, throat tight. "Why?" "Because that's what neighbors do." Martha's smile was warm. "And because I heard what you did last night. Standing up to Hollister took guts. The kind of guts this territory needs more of. I don't know what to say. Say you'll invite me in for coffee and let me get to know you properly. The women around here have been dying to welcome you, but we weren't sure if you'd want the company." Ayasha felt something crack open in her chest, a loneliness she hadn't even acknowledged she was carrying. "I'd love the company." They spent the morning talking about ranching, about life in the territory, about the challenges of being a woman in a man's world. Martha didn't pry about Ayasha's past, didn't ask painful questions. She just treated her like a person, a neighbor, a friend. "There's a quilting circle that meets once a month at the church," Martha said as she prepared to leave. "Next meeting's this Saturday. We'd love to have you join us." "I don't know if I'd be welcome." "Honey, you stood down 5 armed men to protect your home. Trust me, you'll be welcome." Martha squeezed her hand. "Give it a chance. You might be surprised." After she left, Ayasha told Cord about the invitation. "You should go," he said immediately. What if they're wonderful, and you make friends, and start building a life here, beyond just me and this ranch?" He cupped her face. "Ayasha, I love that you depend on me, but I don't want you to be isolated. You deserve community. You deserve friends. Please go." So Saturday, Ayasha found herself in the church basement, surrounded by 8 women of various ages, all working on a large quilt. The conversation faltered when she entered, but Martha stood immediately. "Ladies, this is Ayasha Brennan. Ayasha, this is everyone." The introductions were awkward at first. Some women were friendly, others reserved. But as the afternoon progressed and Ayasha demonstrated her skill with a needle, the atmosphere warmed. By the time the meeting ended, she had tentative invitations to 2 more gatherings, and a genuine smile from even the most skeptical members. "See," Martha said as they walked out together. "Not so bad, was it?" It was nice. Ayasha realized she meant it. Really nice. "Good, because you're one of us now, whether you feel it or not, and we take care of our own." Those words echoed what Tom had said the night of the standoff, and Ayasha felt something shift inside her. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building a life, putting down roots, becoming part of something larger than herself. When she got home and told Cord about her day, he pulled her into his arms and held her tight. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered. "I know that wasn't easy." "It wasn't," she admitted, "but it was worth it." The peace lasted 2 weeks. Ayasha was alone at the ranch. Cord had ridden to town for supplies. When she heard horses approaching, her stomach dropped, expecting Hollister. But when she looked out, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Apache warriors. But not in a Hillsays group. These were younger men, their faces painted for war, their eyes hard with anger and desperation. She stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand but pointed down, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. The leader dismounted. He was young, maybe 20, with burn scars on his left arm and rage etched into every line of his face. "You are Ayasha," he said in Apache, "daughter of Kohil the scout." "I am. You have forgotten your people, forgotten your blood. You live here like a white woman, while our families die on the reservation." "I haven't forgotten anything," Ayasha replied in the same language. "I carry my people with me every day. You carry nothing but shame." He spat on the ground. "My mother died last month, died of disease on the reservation because there wasn't enough medicine, enough food, enough water, while you live here in comfort with your white husband." The words hit like physical blows. "I'm sorry for your mother." "Sorry?" The young warrior laughed bitterly. "Sorry means nothing. You want to honor our people? Give us supplies, food, weapons, horses, help us survive." "I can give you food," Ayasha said carefully. "I'll pack whatever we have, but I can't give you weapons. That would what? Get your white husband in trouble?" He moved closer, and Ayasha's hands tightened on the rifle. "You've chosen their side, chosen comfort over loyalty. You're a traitor to your own blood." "I chose to survive." The words burst out of her. "I chose to live instead of dying slowly on that reservation. And yes, I fell in love with a white man, but that doesn't make me a traitor. It makes me human. It makes you weak. Then I'm weak, but I'm alive, and I'm building a future. That's more than I could do anywhere else." The warrior stared at her, and for a moment she saw past his anger to the desperate, grieving son beneath. He was so young, too young to carry this much rage. "Wait here," she said quietly. "I'll get food." She went inside, packed every bit of spare food they had: dried meat, flour, beans, preserves. It would mean lean times for her and Cord, but she couldn't turn away someone who was starving. When she brought the supplies out, the warrior's expression softened slightly. "This is all I can give you," she said. "I wish it were more." He took the bundle, then looked at her for a long moment. "My mother spoke of your father, said he was a good man, said he tried to protect our people even when it was hopeless. He was a good man. She would be disappointed to see what you've become." The words stung, but Ayasha lifted her chin. Maybe, or maybe she'd understand that survival takes many forms. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose life over death, love over hate. The warrior mounted his horse without another word, but before he rode away, he looked back. "If you truly haven't forgotten your people, then choose life over death, love over hate. Return goes on. Believe me, your people are counted on. Your life is dead. Prove it. When you have children, teach them our language. Tell them our stories. Don't let us disappear completely." "I won't," Ayasha promised. "I swear it." They rode away, and Ayasha sank onto the porch steps, trembling. When Cord returned an hour later, he found her still sitting there, staring at nothing. What happened? He dropped the supply sack and knelt before her. "Ayasha, what's wrong?" She told him everything. When she finished, he pulled her into his arms and held her while she cried. For the young warrior's mother, for her own family, for all the loss that could never be recovered. "You did the right thing," he said quietly, "giving them food. Did I? Or did I just make things worse? What if they come back? What if Hollister finds out we're helping Apache raiders?" "They're not raiders. They're desperate people trying to survive. There's a difference. Cord pulled back to look at her. And as for Hollister, let him find out. I'm not going to stop helping people who need it just because it might make him angry. Even if it puts us in danger? Even then, his eyes were fierce. Because that's who we are, Ayasha. Both of us. We don't turn our backs on people who need help. That's not going to change just because it's complicated or dangerous. Ayasha pressed her forehead to his. What did I do to deserve you? You chose me, he said simply, over gold and horses and land. That's more than I ever thought I'd deserve. That night, lying in bed, Ayasha made a decision. She would honor the young warrior's request. When they had children, she would teach them Apache and English. She would tell them stories of both worlds. She would make sure her people's culture didn't die with her generation. It wasn't much, but it was something. A bridge between two worlds, built on love and hope and stubborn determination. And sometimes, that was enough. 3 months later, Ayasha stood in the garden behind their house, hands pressed to her still flat stomach, a smile playing at her lips. She hadn't told Cord yet, wanted to be sure before she gave him hope. But the signs were all there. A new life growing inside her, a future taking shape. She heard his boots on the porch and turned to find him watching her. That soft look in his eyes he got whenever he thought she wasn't looking. What are you thinking about? He asked. The future. She walked to him, taking his hands. Cord, I have something to tell you. His face went serious. What is it? Are you okay? I'm more than okay. She guided his hand to her stomach. We're going to have a baby. For a second, he just stared at her. Then a grin split his face so wide it must have hurt, and he let out a whoop of joy that sent the chickens scattering. He picked her up and spun her around, then immediately set her down carefully. God, sorry, I shouldn't have. Is the baby okay? Are you okay? Ayasha laughed. We're fine, both of us. A baby. He pressed his forehead to hers. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. I love you so much. He kissed her softly. Both of you. We love you too. They stood there in the garden, the desert wind warm around them, the future stretching out bright and full of promise. Ayasha thought about how far she'd come, from that desperate girl in the trading post to this woman standing in her own garden, carrying her husband's child, building a life she'd never dared to dream possible. 12 warriors had offered gold, horses, and land for her hand, but she'd chosen the cowboy, the man with nothing but love and hope and stubborn determination to build something good. And she'd never regretted it, not for a single second. 5 years later, Ayasha sat on the porch of their expanded ranch house, watching her daughter, 3-year-old Sarah, named for Cord's mother, chase chickens through the yard while her infant son James slept against her chest. Cord rode up from the south pasture, dusty and tired, but his face lit up when he saw his family. "Daddy!" Sarah shrieked, running to him. He swung down from Jake and scooped her up, spinning her around while she giggled. Then he came to the porch and kissed Ayasha, his hand gentle on their son's small head. "How was your day?" he asked. "Perfect." And she meant it. Every difficult day, every challenge, every moment of doubt, it had all led to this, to sitting on this porch with this man and these children, watching the sun set over their land, their home, their future. "I love you," Cord said softly. "I love you too, always." Sarah climbed between them, and they sat together as a family, watching the desert sky turn from gold to purple to indigo, and Ayasha sent a silent prayer of thanks to whatever force had brought her to that trading post 5 years ago, desperate and alone, because that desperation had led her here, to love, to home, to everything she'd never known she wanted. 12 warriors had offered her the world, but the cowboy had offered her something better, a partnership, a family, a future built on love instead of gold. And that had made all the difference. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Ayasha and Cord's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.